14, 17. We'll try to look up that for some inspiration. And in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada, he has a very nice paragraph which directly speaks about this. So, I'm just finding it now. Here we have it. So, I'll just read the Sanskrit. Nahi agni mukhato yamvai bhagavan sarva yagyabhuk ideta havishara jam yatha vipra mukhe utai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the enjoyer of sacrificial offerings. Yet, although his lordship eats the oblations offered in the fire, my dear king, he is still more satisfied when nice food made of grains and ghee is offered to him through the mouths of qualified brahmanas. So, we'll go to the part of the purport where Srila Prabhupada speaks. Everyone should join the Sankirtan movement, offering to the fire of this movement the oblations of his knowledge and riches. In our Sankirtan movement, or Hare Krishna movement, we offer sumptuous prasad to the deity and later distribute the same prasad to the brahmanas, the Vaishnavas, and then to the people in general. Krishna's prasad is offered to the brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and the prasad of the brahmanas and Vaishnavas is offered to the general populace. This kind of sacrifice, chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra and distribution of prasad, is the most perfect and bona fide way of offering sacrifice for the pleasure of Yajna or Vishnu. So this is of course a very nice inspiration for our activity today. That it is said that this process of chanting Hare Krishna and distributing prasad, which has been offered to the brahmanas, offered first of all to the deity of the Lord in the temple, and then offered to brahmanas and Vaishnavas, and then offered to the general public. And that is the most perfect and bona fide way of offering sacrifice for the pleasure of Yajna or Vishnu. So this gives us some encouragement that it is very authorized, this chanting of the Lord's holy name and distributing prasad. This is surefire, it's a guaranteed formula for satisfying the Supreme Lord and the Guru Parampara. So I'd like to connect this, which is stated, to some more practical instruction. Exactly how do you do it? Okay, one thing is very authorized. It is completely authorized, by the Shastra, that this is the way to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to offer service to the Supreme Lord. So then the question may arise a little bit, how should we do it in practice? Some practical instruction that we might meditate when we go out and do this yajna, I say. So for that purpose, there is one verse in the first canto, it's in the 5th chapter and verse 36. So there it is said, the Lord definitely says that no one is more dear to him than one who is always engaged in the preaching work of the Lord's name and fame all over the world. The scientific discoveries of the material world can also be equally engaged in carrying out his order. He wants the message of the Bhagavad Gita to be preached amongst his devotees. It may not be so done amongst those who have no credit of austerities, charity, education, etc. Therefore, the attempt must go on to convert unwilling men to become his devotees. Lord Chaitanya has taught a very simple method in this connection. He has taught the lesson for preaching the transcendental message through singing, dancing and refreshment. As such, 50% of our income may be spent for this purpose. In this fallen age of quarrel and dissension, if only the leading and wealthy persons of society agree to spend 50% of their income in the service of the Lord, as it is taught by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is absolute certainty of converting this hell of pandemonium to the transcendental abode of the Lord. No one will disagree to partake in a function where good singing, dancing and refreshment are administered. Everyone will attend such a function, and everyone is sure to feel individually the transcendental presence of the Lord. This alone will help the attendant associate with the Lord and thereby purify himself in spiritual realization. The only condition for successfully executing such spiritual activities is that they must be conducted under the guidance of a pure devotee who is completely free from all mundane desires, fruitive activities and dry speculations about the nature of the Lord. So, for the interesting, what Srila Prabhupada speaks about here is that this message of Bhagavad Gita is supposed to be preached amongst the devotees, but there's not so many devotees here in this Kali Yuga. So, he says, and therefore the attempt must go on to convert unwilling men to become his devotees. We have to make some devotees in order for Bhagavad Gita to be distributed and preached amongst the devotees. And to make some devotees, then, Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya has taught a very simple method in this connection. He has taught the lesson for preaching the transcendental message through singing, dancing and refreshment. So, this is Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan movement, which makes devotees, which helps to make devotees, which can then, be recipients of the transcendental message of the Bhagavad Gita. So, then we may say, ask the question: how should we do this? How should this be done efficiently? We know that this may help create devotees if we go out and follow this program of Lord Chaitanya, this singing and dancing and refreshment, singing Hare Krishna, dancing to the singing of Hare Krishna and distributing Krishna Prasad. That will actually help to make devotees. So then, how do we do it properly? That's I also wanted to speak where we could spend some time. And we find here in this purport that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have to go back. In this fallen age of quarrel and dissension, if only the leading and wealthy persons of society agree to spend 50% of their income in the service of the Lord, as it is taught by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is absolute certainty of converting this hell of pandemonium to the transcendental abode of the Lord. No one will disagree to partake in a function where good singing, dancing and refreshment are administered. Everyone will attend such a function, and everyone is sure to feel individually the transcendental presence of the Lord. This alone will help the attendant associate with the Lord and thereby purify himself in spiritual realization. So there are some practical instructions here. And that is said that no one will disagree to partake in a function where good singing, dancing and refreshment are administered. So this good singing is a little bit important for us, because we need to, when we offer this Harinam Sankirtan Yagya to the public, I said there should be good singing, dancing and refreshment, and we can attach good to all three of them. That means there should be some standard. No, it should be of some standard, our presentation of our performance of the Harinam Sankirtan Yagya. It should ideally be of some standard, so that we can have this, that no one will disagree to partake in a function where good singing. So no one, if the singing is good, if the dancing is also good and the refreshment is also good, then Prabhupada said that no one will disagree to partake in it. But if there's some flaw, if there's some discrepancy, if we don't, what we sing is not practiced, you say we sing something, we can't really cooperate together in the singing, or nobody dances, most likely that not the problem that the dancing is bad, most likely nobody dances, that's just the, that's just the problem of most often. And the refreshment, if the prasadam somehow is not nice, it's not really nice, you know, even though prasadam is transcendental, it's offered with Lord, if it made with Lord, do it offer to the Lord, even something which may not be normally considered nice, still may be transcendental, then Prabhupada would comment sometimes at the Kumbh Mela. He said that the prasadam which cooked was actually not fit for a dog. Right there. So he did make comments about prasadam, that the prasadam should be of some standard. And we know Prabhupada, that when he cooked, it was just like nectar. He personally cooked the things, and many of the devotees, they were simply, you know, sold out to the process. They simply sold themselves on account of the prasadam that Srila Prabhupada he prepared, because that prasadam was so fantastic. It was such a game-changing experience, as some of the devotees they talk about. That their consciousness was so purified by that prasadam that they thought, we have to come back, you know. And even as prasadam, he said, was devised as a means to stop the devotees from leaving. As I think Manida came from Manida, that Prabhupada had this jar of gulab jamuns. So when you walked out the door, the last thing you saw was that gulab jamuns. And if you had an idea to leave, you would see that jar of gulab jamuns, and the mind would think, how can you leave this? how can you go outside to something else and not come back to this? You know, so you can say that the prasadam, it had a significant part in making the devotees and just capturing the consciousness of those newcomers, and then also preventing them from leave, you know, because they know, if I leave this, I will have to miss this. So prasadam, if we can also say that it should be nice, sumptuous prasadam, it should be very as good, as wonderful as we can possibly make it, then that will also make it easier for everyone to partake in such a function. If we steadily and regularly, you know, offer some very nice prasadam to the public, and some very nice singing, and some nice dancing, then who will disagree to partake in such a function? So this is some practical instruction for us, that when we do something, we should do something that we know how to do it. Like, we shouldn't do something half, you know. Stick to the things that we know how to do and present that. Ideally there should not be much speculation, there shouldn't be any speculation when we're out there presenting, you know. Not in speculation in regard to the prasadam, no speculation in regard to the dancing, it should be nice, you know. Prabhupada even taught us standard dancing, you know. He had a standard, okay, you do this Swami step, you know. So he had standards for everything. He had standards for prasadam, he had standards for dancing, and he had standards for chanting even, how you should chant. And Prabhupada, he would correct devotees many times. One thing he would correct the devotees was in relation to instruments. Some devotees, they said they wanted to play sitar, you know, to use the sitar in kirtan. But then Prabhupada said, if you can't do it expertly, then don't do it, you know. Better, if you know to play the guitar nicely, then better play the guitar than play the sitar, like the half, you know, play the sitar, you know, in a you say substandard, not nice way. Then better play your guitar, which you know how to play. So like he would comment, and of course we know in the beginning. In the beginning he was very like open and, you know, welcoming everything. But then later on, of course, he would give all certain standards. He would correct a lot of things along the way. So we can meditate on that. Then what we present out there, it should be good. As far as possible, there should be good singing. There should be also good dancing, nice dancing, and tasty, sumptuous Krishna prasadam being offered. So if you do that, then that's our practical endeavor to do this as nicely. This authorized yajna, which is completely supported by Srila Prabhupada, supported in the Shastra, and we have an opportunity to do that. And together with book distribution, it's also completely authorized and supported by the Acharya, by the Shastra, then we have a very nice yajna. We have a program for making devotees, for inspiring that devotional seed, for generating that spark of spiritual inclination within the heart. And then we also have the books ready. So when that spark is generated, when that fire is ignited, then the books come in and they can partake as on a devotional platform, beginning devotional platform. They can partake in a message. The message of the Bhagavad Gita can be preached to them. And then we have a substantial, as Prabhupada say, a substantial service to the Lord. He will say this book distribution is a substantial service. When they get the book, then some substantial service is done. So when we prepare the field for the person receiving the book by the Harinam Prasadam distribution, then it's easier that actually this book will take good effect. The inspiration will be there to go for this book. And so like that they are, these Harinam Prasadam distribution and book distribution, they go very well together. So it's very nice that we have a program for all of it, for these three things now going on, and trying to combine it also on a day like today we'll go out all together. So those were a few words on Harinam Prasadam distribution and some few practical things which we may try to remember out there today, and try to make it as nice as possible so that everyone will agree to partake in this function. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Maybe there's some time for question or comment. Yes?
Yeah, we just read yesterday that Prabhupada said that I want you to make this Harinam parties. There should be 8 katas, 8 pair of katas and 2 mridangas and Harinam. So I was thinking this, that we start this program, the training to each other, that we learn 2 mridanga players like this, and it doesn't need to be loud if we are sitting down, but this sweet sound, this teamwork, that is very sweet. If you have 2 mridanga players who knows, you can tune into each other, because the more team we are together, we will impress the people.
Yeah, so that's an endeavor for the good. And the standard was set by Prabhupada. He had this, only you do it nicely, you do it like this. So Prabhupada gave us actually all that we required, to do this, execute this devotional service very nicely. That was, he was like founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, that so many instructions, so many practical instructions are there. And we need to remind ourselves actually that yes, he gave instructions for all of these programs, all of these different services. So we can try to do something like that. They do that in Vrindavan. We see in the bigger centers they have 2 mridangas always, even more sometimes. But yes, the standard in Vrindavan is always the 2 mridangas are there. And simply it is that one leads and the other mridanga simply follows. So there's one leader. Actually, the system in the kirtan, we can actually just speak a little bit about this, because the system in a kirtan is that you have the leader, the singer. He's selecting the melody and selecting the pace and everything like that. So there's a leader of the kirtan, which is the singer, and he cooperates with the mridanga player, so that the mridanga player, he is very much like trying to tune in to where the leader is going. Is he going faster, or is he going slower, or is he like keeping a steady? Is he keeping a steady, keeping a steady pace? So then the mridanga player, he changes immediately when the lead singer, he goes some direction. The flow of the lead singer goes some direction, and then the other instruments, which is the kartals, the wampus may be there, a brass gong may be there, shakers and so many different instruments may be there, they simply follow the mridanga player. So the other instruments, they adjust themselves in pace according to what the mridanga plays, what's coming out from mridanga. And that's the system. And in all that system, there's different, because the kirtan is not just always the same speed, it picks up, you know. So of course you can of course do this with the simple 1, 2, 3. You know, in the old days, in the early days, they basically played the 1, 2, 3 with them on kartals, so there wasn't that much variation. So you can also do that faster and slower. So it is possible to do that. But it's also possible to do a little bit of variation on the kartals, you know, if the devotees are trained for that. And there's so many different beats on the Mridanga. You know, Prabhupada, he showed different Mridanga beats, and our disciplic succession is full of these you know, various ways of playing the instruments. A lot of different Mridanga beats are there in our tradition. And if we add all these elements, then we can make it very attractive. The kirtan can become very attractive. And of course, if this is all done in the mood that we're offering this to serve the Lord, we're offering this to please the Lord, not for our name or fame or like that, to like promote ourselves as great singers or anything like that, but always this mood of devotion to preserve, then, you know, that's a very, you know, realistic, that's a very, you know, practical way of trying to serve the Lord better. So yes, we are hopeful. Of course, we've tried to start this training program many times. So, but anyhow, we shouldn't give up. You know, we should try, you know, to continue and you know, endeavor to improve in this direction. And we can try today to see what can we do. We can ask ourselves the question: what can I do to make this better? As now today, you know, with what I have of resources, knowledge, and capacity. How can I myself make the best possible contribution? And if we have this mentality, how can I do the best I can, then definitely there will be improvement. You know, improvement comes out of that consciousness. How can I do better? Then improvement becomes automatically. So this is just to remind ourselves that we should have this consciousness. How can I do better? How can I do the best that I possibly can out there to serve properly this Lord Chaitanya's mission? Yes. So we have 2 minutes. Is there anything else? Yes, Temple.
I would just say it was such a nice purport that you quoted, this Bhagavatam 1.5.4.
I can again. 1.5.36 it was.
Like, and especially emphasize this point that it should be like good singing and like good prasadam and good refreshment, and like it was just like, yeah, it's so obvious that that is very attractive and everyone will become attracted to it, and that convert people to become devotees, because then there is facility to preach. So very inspiring class.
Yes, thank you very much. And it is the last point, which is actually there. I'll just briefly see if I can touch upon it. Is that the only condition for successfully executing such spiritual activities is that they must be conducted under the guidance of a pure devotee who is completely free from all mundane desires, fruitive activities, and dry speculation about the nature of the Lord. So this is one sobering thing, that these things will only be successful if it is done in a pure devotional mood. So we can just have a few words on that. How do we do this in a pure devotional mood? Because, you know, we can get caught up in this. Okay, I'm a good singer, or I made some wonderful prasadam, I'm a great cook, or I'm dancing very nicely, I'm a great dancer, like that. So we may be caught up sometimes in our own glories, so-called own glories. So how do we prevent ourselves, you know, from like developing such a mentality? And that we say, we try to remember this verse, that we are not the doers, you know, we're instruments. Like Krsna says that we just become an instrument. So actually we should remind that we're only instruments out there. And we are engaged, we've been initiated in devotion service by spiritual masters. So we should know that as we do, I like this meditation on the altar, because there you don't do direct service, you offer the service through the spiritual master. So some of that meditation which is there for the pujaris, then we can take that also on the streets, that say, I'm not doing this, I'm not qualified, but my spiritual master is qualified, Srila Prabhupada is qualified. So if we take their help, if we take the presence, that actually it's going through them, they are present in that, then we can say we have the shelter, we have the association of a pure devotee, and then we may somehow be saved, may be able to save ourselves from developing this consciousness that I'm the do and I'm great. So thank you very much. Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari.